In the world of basketball, there's nothing more humiliating than getting posterized, swatted while trying to put someone on a poster, and getting dropped after a sick ankle breaker. What's even worse than these happening to you is that some NBA players enjoy rubbing it in their opponent's face to add more salt to the wound and make them feel terrible about themselves. In today's video, we'll feature some of the most disrespectful taunts and showboating moments in the NBA. By the way, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can always get your hands full of awesome NBA content and the latest news surrounding the league. Mutumbo's finger wag. Getting your shot rejected is just a normal occurrence in basketball, but it's a different thing when Dikembe Mutombo does it. His signature finger wag sends psychological trauma to anyone who dares cross the shaded lane, and you'll most likely think twice the next time you enter his lair. Mutombo was one of the feared rim protectors in the 90s. Well, primarily because of his monstrous frame at 7'2", and secondly due to his monstrous voice, Cookie Monster-like voice to be precise. What Mutombo is trying to say with that demeaning finger gesture is that you can try to make shots elsewhere, but definitely not in my house. Mutombo's interior defense can be likened to an impenetrable fortress on most occasions, except for the one time when Michael Jordan climbed the summit and finally conquered Mount Mutombo with a thunderous facial after several attempts, and Michael was elated with the results, so much so that he delivered a finger wag of his own right to Mutombo's face. Nonetheless, Mutombo's defense-first mentality has earned him 4 Defensive Players of the Year trophies, and he's currently second for the most blocks in NBA history, only behind Hakeem Olajuwon. The Lister Blister. Shawn Kemp was a beast during his heydays due to his crazy hops and unparalleled athleticism that he possessed. And Alton Lister had first-hand experience of the Shawn Kemp show when he got badly dunked on in the 1992 playoffs. When Ricky Pierce found himself smothered by the defense on the baseline, he was able to locate a wide-open Kemp who was already revving up from the top of the key. As he received the ball, it was as if the runway had been cleared for Flight Kemp, and from that moment, you just sensed that things weren't going to end up pretty for Mr. Lester. Kemp attacked the lane with full force, clutched the ball in his arms like a running back, and just destroyed Lester with one of the most electrifying dunks we've ever seen in basketball history. Seriously, Kemp should have been arrested for this one, because this was a murder that happened on national television. The dunk was undoubtedly a resounding 10, but Kemp's pointing gesture saying, "I got you," towards the end added some style points to the already spectacular play. Things were already brewing between the two in the first 3 games of the series, and this was the roaring revenge dunk from the Rain Man that left Lister lying on the ground, analyzing and internalizing what kind of force just hit him. Brodys' Rockabye baby. The animosity between Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley stems from way back in 2013 when Pat Bev undercut. Oh, let me rephrase that. Tries to steal the ball after Westbrook already signaled for a timeout. Westbrook hobbled afterward and eventually tore his meniscus, ending his impressive Iron Man streaks thanks to Beverley's ultra-aggressive defense. Ever since that incident, tempers would instantly flare between these highly combustible elements whenever they had the chance to share the floor. Fast forward 5 years later, the two would face up in a playoff series, and Brodie would introduce the Rockabye baby celebration every time he scored on somebody smaller and weaker than him, which we all know was a sarcastic tribute to none other than his on-court nemesis. When reporters asked Westbrook about the baby cradling gesture, Brodie said that it was just all about putting the competition to sleep. Quote, "Yeah, you got the little kids, you got the little babies, put them to sleep. That's what happens. Little guards, you gotta rock them." Steph Curry's turnaround. Steph Curry has revolutionized the three-point game in ways we can't even imagine. If you're going to blame someone on why everyone now in the NBA shoots threes at an unprecedented rate, then there's no doubt that this is the guy that you're looking for. By the looks of it, Steph is playing the video game version of himself in real life. He's just so darn good at shooting threes that sometimes he just turns around and walks back to the other side of the court while the ball is still in midair, knowing that the shot will hit the bottom of the net at the moment it leaves the palm of his hands, which is both pretty amazing and unfair at the same time. Damian Lillard called him recently the greatest shooter that has graced the hardwood. And with the ability to predict that his shot would go in beforehand, I certainly couldn't agree more. Lillard waves goodbye to OKC. Speaking of Lillard, Dame sent the entire OKC Thunder packing in the 2019 playoffs with one of the most outrageous buzzer beaters in playoff history. Tied at 115 in the dying seconds of Game 5 between the Blazers and the Thunder, Lillard was milking the clock and poised to deliver the coup de grace to the heart of OKC. The most logical thing to do in this scenario is either to drive and get fouled or at least attempt a shot somewhere near the basket. But as we all know, Lillard had other plans on how to close the series. As the clock winded down, he continued to size up PG, and then went up and drilled a 37-foot step-back jumper that was seen and heard around the world. Lillard said good riddance to OKC after making the shot by waving his hands as he was gobbled up and mobbed by his teammates to celebrate the historic win. Lillard's wave was a sign of things to come to an end for OKC, as Westbrook and PG have separated ways and changed zip codes later that year. It was a goodbye indeed. The Big Balls Dance. The Big Balls Dance was first used by Sam Cassell when he was still a member of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Years later, several NBA players followed suit, such as Andre Iguodala, Marco Bellinelli, Julius Randle, and even the late great Kobe Bryant was caught grabbing their imaginary cojones while running to and fro like an ape. The inspiration for the taunt came from the movie Major League that was released in 1994. In that movie, the Asian character has told the African-American dude that he's got no marbles, so to speak. The junk log has been a famous go-to celebration after sinking a clutch basket during late games or hitting ice-cold daggers. A throat-slitting debut. D. Wade has a costly first day as a member of the Chicago Bulls when he was fined $25,000 for doing the cutthroat sign after hitting the game-clinching three with 26.3 seconds left in the ballgame. Wade later apologized for the inappropriate gesture and said he was just caught up in the heat of the moment. Reggie Miller's choke sign. You rarely see players' unpleasant exchanges with fans nowadays because the refs will quickly tee them up and the arena security would not hesitate to escort the unruly spectator out of the building. But in the 90s, it's a whole different story. The 1994 Eastern Conference Finals featured the heated rivalry between the Indiana Pacers and New York Knicks. With each team winning 2 games apiece, the stage was set for a pivotal Game 5 in Madison Square Garden. Longtime Knicks fan Spike Lee was sitting courtside giving Reggie Miller an earful during the game. Miller only scored 14 points in the first 3 quarters, and it seemed like the Knicks were cruising to a sure victory headed into the fourth. But despite the home court advantage and Spike's constant hollering and trash-talking, Miller remained poised. The nasty words hurled at Miller just added fuel to the fire as he tallied 25 points in the fourth alone, while he stared daggers at Spike each time he dropped a bucket. Thus, Miller time was born. In the end, the Pacers pulled off the dub 93-86, and Miller thanked Spike for the extra motivation with the infamous choke sign. The next day, the New York Daily News plastered Spike Lee's face on the front page of the newspaper with a sarcastic headline, "Thanks a lot, Spike." The Beard's Cookin'. There's no doubt that this one should be on the list. James Harden's iconic cooking taunt is one of the most famous post-basket celebrations in recent memory. No one knows how Harden came up with this one, but it certainly creates a stir, no pun intended, especially to those victimized by the Beard, Wesley Johnson. When Harden does this, it just simply means that he's about to heat up and cook his defender using his patented double step-back 3 and a variety of moves in his offensive arsenal. Which celebration is your favorite? And do you know other taunts that did not make the list? Let us know the disrespectful taunts that should have been included on the list by commenting down below. If you like this video, you can share your support by hitting the thumbs icon, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more awesome NBA content like this one.